Hey everybody, it is Dak here from the Ed Boys, and today we're going to be talking about the Gian'ts Foundry. Last week we got an official blog for the concept and rewards on this potential new smithing minigame. In this video we're just going to go through the blog talking about the requirements, the gameplay, the potential XP, and the potential rewards from this idea. This is just an idea on the table. I'm sure that this one will likely get polled at least, but this has not hit the polls or anything. Gian'ts Foundry is not guaranteed to make it into the game, just in the idea phase currently. First of all, you do need to complete a quest to have access to the minigame. Real quick, I am going to click on the spoiler for the requirements. It's really not much here, but you are going to need 15 smithing to do the Sleeping Giants quest. Similar to how Guardians of the Rift requires Temple of the Eye, it looks like they're just going to have a quick quest that'll give you a little bit of lore behind it and explain to you how the minigame works before you actually get started. On that note, it is interesting to get a little bit of lore from the Giants. Here's a visual of some concept art for the minigame. This really doesn't mean a whole lot before you know the gameplay or even got to run around and do it, but I mean, if you've seen like Forged in Fire or you know anything about like smithing in real life, it seems like they're going to make more interactive smithing like they want to, and they're going to do it kind of how you would expect. After completing Sleeping Giants, you'll have all the know-how you need to start smithing at the Gian'ts Foundry. This is a non-instance and non-combat safe minigame accessible to all Old School Runescape members. The Foundry will begin with a simple question: how can we make smithing more interesting and engaging? We wanted a process that was more exciting than just taking a bar to an anvil and hammering away for a couple of seconds. Thus, the Gian'ts Foundry requires you to use all of your skills and perseverance to forge swords of giant proportions. Working on a commission given by Kovac, you will find the perfect sword design, choose a metal according to your chosen difficulty, and work to perform with a variety of tools to get the perfect killing edge. But be careful, each resource used in this minigame has the potential to offer more value per bar, but if you're not paying close attention, you could lose both resource and experience. Definitely being able to mess it up is going to piss some people off in the early weeks of this. As people figure out how to do it, I'm sure it's going to be really easy to not lose any of your bars or any of your resources that you bring with you, but I can imagine that'll tick some people off. It looks like they're trying to make a similar jump for smithing like they did with Guardians of the Rift. Smithing can already be pretty fast, pretty good XP, and pretty good money, but it's not really fun. So it looks like they're trying to make a more engaging, enjoyable way to do smithing. Let's go over what the gameplay will look like briefly. Again, this doesn't really mean too much until you get to sit down and do it, but we'll go over what the idea of it's going to look like. Before you can start working on a sword, you'll need to pick up a commission from Kovac, set the mold, fill the crucible, and pour the liquid metal you've chosen. Commissions define what kind of blade you'll be making using two descriptive words. For example, you might receive a commission from a giant who wants a sword that is narrow and spiked. You'll need to keep that description in mind when you choose a mold. Look through Kovac's mold library for the best match. The closer match that you find, the higher quality your sword will be. So yeah, I mean, that makes sense. If you make the sword they want you to make, it'll be higher quality. Note that the points you gain here won't affect how difficult it is to make the sword. That's all determined by the type of metal you choose, okay? Here's a visual of the menu, like if you were asked for, I think their example was narrow and spiked, so that would have been like this Zui tip at least is narrow 4, spiked 4, I don't know, there's clearly more options here than just that, but if he asks for like these two things, he needs a narrow and flat sword and wanted it to be heavy or whatever, like you would click on this and that's how you get started with it. Speaking of which, once you have selected and set your mold, you'll need to move on to the crucible, the big stone bucket chained above the river of lava. The crucible heats and liquefies the metal you put into it. It'll accept bronze, iron, steel, mithril, adamant, or rune bars, or any metal item that you want to recycle. You heard that right. Finally a way to get rid of those unwanted plate bodies and battle axes. Okay, so you're supplying your own bars for this, but you could also supply your own anything that was made out of those bars. So we're recycling smithing things. A lot of smithing items are right around alch price, so that's usually the only way to get rid of them is to just alch them. So this is another way to actually use spare, like they said, plate bodies and battle axes and all that crap that we don't need. Note, when recycling items, you won't get back all the bars it took to craft them. Some material is always lost in the creation process. In other words, if you use like a mithril plate body to use 5 myth bars, you'll actually only get a few myth bars out of it, not quite 5. A giant sword requires 20 bars worth of material, which is conveniently the exact same amount that the crucible can hold. It's like we did it on purpose. Once you have filled the crucible, you can pour the molten metal into your mold. The higher tier of metal that you've chosen, the longer the sword will take to shape, and the more precise that the temperature range will have to be. Yeah, higher tier metals are going to be more difficult to use. Kovac also believes that swords made of an alloy, a mixture of 2 or more different metals, will be better. That's something to keep in mind. At the beginning of that sentence, I thought it was going to say that it would be worse. In other words, just using rune items is not necessarily going to be the meta. Rune plus adamant might be better. Now it's time to cool off as we begin to work the blade. Let's scroll down to refinement. The refinement process lets you shape the raw perform that you just created into a blade fit for a mighty giant. You'll have a variety of tools at your disposal. Each of these tools are probably going to make a little more sense when you actually get to play it. We're just going to quickly check out this overlay. So this will just be the overlay in like the top left corner or something. The top bar shows quality. You're going to want to be as high quality as possible for like the most points and whatnot. That temperature bar is going to jump around a lot because if you look at just the completion percentage, it's red at first, then it goes back to yellow, red, yellow, and green. So as you're completing it, as that bar fills up, you're going to need it to be different temperatures, and that's what you're using the middle bar for. Using tools changes the temperature of the perform, which also will naturally cool down over time. So the temperature will always be dropping, and then what tools you're using will change the temperature. Using the incorrect tool or using the right tool outside the correct temperature range will result in lower quality. If the quality reaches 0, you'll have to hand it over to Kovac and try again. Be warned that the quality can only ever be lost. You'll never get it back again. So that quality bar is going to start off full, and it'll just drain anytime that you mess up. If you manage to reach 100% completion without ruining the sword, you can hand it over to Kovac, and you'll be rewarded with some juicy XP and some Foundry reputation, excuse me. The higher the quality, the more rewards you're going to get. And here's an example of the refinement process. So this is going to be another thing that will make more sense when you actually get to play it. This is just kind of reading out what this completion bar looks like. You're going to want to first be at this trip hammer when it's really hot, cool it down a little bit for the grind wheel, heat it up again for the trip hammer, cool it down for the grind wheel until eventually you have to get it real cool and then polish it. Again, this is going to be something that makes a lot more sense when we get to see it. So we're going to move on to the experience section. So what does the experience rate look like, and where does it fit into the existing smithing metas? That's a great question, Jagex. Here's where we think Gian'ts Foundry sits in comparison to other skilling methods. Blast Furnace, this content is click intensive, accordingly rewards you with more XP and greater profit, especially when using the most optimal setups. This is true. Cannonball is one of the more AFK styles of trading smithing, dude, the most AFK style, which results in good profit but little XP. Honestly, it doesn't result necessarily in good profit. It results in profit, though. It's not terrible. And then Gian'ts Foundry, the newest smithing minigame, will be moderately click-intensive and a more interactive experience than other methods with a greater focus on XP. This content will be especially accessible to lower players. That was a tongue twister and a half. And there's also a potential for profit. So, the greater focus on XP with the potential for profit. I'm not going to lie, the more profit that it makes, the more broken that it is. And I mean, I don't hate just getting a lot of XP and profit, but I'm aware that that's pretty unbalanced. So if they're going to be focused on XP, it probably shouldn't profit that much. But they just said a greater focus on XP, not necessarily that it's going to be like sick XP. Let's just keep going. After testing, we reckon that players can make between 10 and 20 swords per hour. Easier metals such as bronze and iron obviously require less effort, so players will be able to make more, whereas swords with adamant and runite will take longer but offer greater reward. We've also crunched the numbers for other skilling methods. So here's a table showing Blast Furnace, gold at the Blast Furnace, and then just smithing 5 bar mithril items. In other words, like plate bodies, smithing plate bodies with either myth, addy, or rune. How much XP you could get and how many bars you're using. Please note that these are rough estimations, true. Not every player gets the same rates. If you are the max speed player or you just got started on the method, you're going to get very different numbers from each other. As you can see, current methods are resource intensive, which is very true. These are all like thousands of bars an hour, bro. One of the key benefits of Gian'ts Foundry is that you'll use fewer materials per hour, giving you more XP per bar. We estimate you'll save at least 85% on resources compared to the methods listed above. Dang, dude. Honestly, if we scroll up a little bit, this sentence here where it was saying how like Addy and Rune bars are going to be greater reward and how we're going to have to use more of those, I was thinking maybe Addy and Rune like go up in price if it's really that valuable and people need it more. But if we're saving that many resources and we just don't need that many bars, that's really not going to be the case. People are not going to need nearly as many bars to get higher levels, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It sounds like a bad thing on the surface to be like, that's just going to kill the prices of everything. It may not kill the prices depending on the demand of bars in the minigame, and things like dart tips are always going to be needed, so bars are still always needed for other things than just like alching and smithing XP. But it's also kind of nice to not have to use 6,000 bars an hour. I'll admit it, it's not fun to just take out 27 bars, head to the anvil for 8 seconds, and then head back for another 27 bars. So I like the idea of saving some resources. That 85% number seems huge, though, I'm not going to lie. That is a dramatic drop. Look, they already know. We also believe that the XP given will be well worth the interaction and click intensity of the activities you'll be doing in the Foundry. So kind of what they're getting at here is I don't know if difficult is the word. They're not necessarily going to make it difficult, but like you're going to have to sit there and play it. It's not going to be anything that you can AFK at all, which is why you would get like 85% saved resources. That's kind of understandable. Of course, XP gained is also dependent on how good you are at crafting the swords, but overall we think this will give more XP per resource than any other smithing method in the game. It's a good point that So if you take your bars to an anvil, or if you take ores to the blast furnace, like, you're getting a certain amount of XP per bar or ore. Like, that's just how it works. You're not going to get any less XP. I guess if you forget to put on your goldsmith gauntlets before you smith gold bars, then you get less XP. So there's still kind of a case where you could mess up and get less XP. And what they're saying here is, like, you'll have to be able to successfully do the foundry. You can't just fucking blow it and still get the same rates. Let's go ahead and check out the rewards. This is always the most exciting part. I mean, XP rewards, I guess, are also very exciting, but the actual rewards. Apart from the massive XP games, massive XP gains, dude. They threw a massive in there real quick. Completing commissions will also gain you Foundry Reputation, which can be used to purchase goodies from Kovac's reward shop. Here's a look at what he's got in stock. Ore packs. Ore packs are a great way to purchase a variety of ores in one go. All right, it's like the gem bag. I wonder if there'll be like a 1 in 10 million dragon ore in the ore pack. Molds, we thought it would be interesting if you could buy tools to help improve your smithing process within the minigame itself. That makes sense. I was going to say, well, molds, that's so exciting. Get my ring mold here. Use extra molds to help all kinds of commissions and give you a leg up on the quality before you even start smithing. The better the mold, the higher the smithing level you'll need, so you can train and gain all in one location. All right, so that's actually pretty cool. Just an in-game thing. A boost for the minigame itself. 8 cannonball mold. Wait a minute. With Leagues 3, you got an 8-sided cannon, so it's only fitting that you now get an 8 cannonball mold. I don't know how relevant that first mark is, to be fair. Like, the cannon always shoots in 8 directions. Just the skin of the new one shows all 8 directions at once, but it still fits, man. I still love this. This mold lets you use 2 steel bars to smith 8 cannonballs at once, doubling your production speed. So it does cut the AFK-ness of cannonballs in half, but it also can double the speed of cannonballs, which actually kind of helps with that profit. Like I was saying before, they mentioned that cannonballs was good profit. It's really not good profit. You are making money while you do it, but it is slow. Smithing Catalyst. Using this unstackable item when creating bars at the furnace, excluding the blast furnace, will not only have the amount of coal required, but also double the XP given. Oh, wait a minute. However, the catalyst will be consumed when the bar is made, so you'll need plenty of them to go around. Okay, so 1 catalyst per bar. That means, like, if you're making steel bars, it's 1 catalyst per coal. You're gonna need a lot of catalyst. If you're doing it with rune bars, I guess it's 4 catalysts per coal. But remember, you gotta bring the unstackable catalyst with you. So you're only saving 3 NV spaces, not 4, which is still nice. But you're also getting double XP, so those are gonna be interesting. I wonder how easy it's gonna be to get a lot of those. Kovac's Grog, a brew made by Kovac himself. This supposedly tasty grog will give you a temporary smithing boost of +4. Just don't tell health and safety, bro. I always like having a pretty good boost that you don't have to go to the stews for, and it's still not quite as powerful as the stew. I like the +4 boost. The Hill Giant Club Ornament Kit. It wouldn't be fair for you to craft all these swords without taking one home for yourself. This kit takes Obor's weapon, the Hill Giant Club, to new heights with a Gian'ts Foundry themed giant sword skin. Bro, they're going to be adding Cloud to RuneScape. Cloud's sword is now going to be a thing in RuneScape. Finally, the Giant's Helm. One of the more unique rewards that we're offering is the Giant's Helmet. It fits remarkably well considering it's made for a giant's head. It's completely cosmetic. Won't give any extra protection, although it sure looks like it does, dude. This is going to be a helmet that covers your entire body, isn't it? That is it. If we scroll down a little bit more, we just get the thank you from the developers. That's all they have for the Gian'ts Foundry ideas, which actually looks pretty cool. A more interactive and engaging way to do smithing. We just got the more interactive and engaging way to do rune crafting with Guardians of the Rift, and everyone seems to be a big fan of Guardians of the Rift. Part of the reason rune crafting sucked is because of how slow it was, and smithing is not necessarily slow, so I don't think it'll be as big of a jump that rune crafting got. I don't think smithing is suddenly going to be this glorious skill. This does look pretty sweet on paper, though. We got some interesting ideas for rewards, some good-looking XP rates. It looks like it's going to save a lot of bars if done correctly. I'm interested to see what that does for, like, the bar economy, but, other than that, I think it's a pretty cool idea, and I'm actually looking forward to seeing how well it does in the polls. They might tweak it a little bit before they put it on the poll, but I imagine that this will reach the polls kind of soon. That's going to wrap it up for this look at Gian'ts Foundry, everybody. I appreciate you watching this video. If you enjoyed the vid or you just got some useful information out of it, be sure to like and subscribe for more content. I do stream on Twitch, which is linked on the screen and in the description, and I am also on Twitter and Discord, which are linked in the description. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and best of luck on your grinds.